All right, here we go. Some drills and things to think about when we're doing the jerk. All right, so here we go. The big things I look for when I'm looking at the jerk is that in the split, the back foot hits either at the same time as the front foot or just slightly before, okay? It should not be the front foot and then the back foot. If anything, it should be the back foot and then the front foot, or at least at the same time. The other thing that I like to think about is reaching that front foot out, okay? Sliding the back foot and getting the front foot out there. The wider your split, to an extent, the more stable that you're gonna be. And typically the lower that you can get. If I split very shallow, a lot of the weight has to be absorbed by my front foot and weight is getting pushed out in front. If I go too wide, then I'm not stable and I could get pulled into the splits. But, and I'm gonna show you the distance here in a second, if I'm nice and evenly split and I get that front foot out there, I can absorb 50-50 distribution between the front leg and the back leg and have a nice solid jerk position, okay? So, a couple things that I'm looking for. 50-50 distribution. The back leg should have a nice bend to it. The rear heel should be elevated. The front foot is out there. And if I look down, I should be able to see my toes. And I'll give you a view of that in a second. That front shin should be nice and vertical, and I should have a nice bend here. Hips should be nice and square. Arms locked out. Let's look at a couple things how to get into this position. Okay, so first things first. My hips should be right underneath of, my feet should be right underneath of my hips. I don't want to be super wide and I don't want to be super narrow. A good way of finding where your hips should be is actually jump a couple times in place. That's going to be approximately where you'd like your feet to be. The reason why we do this and the way that we can think about why this is optimal is if you're going to try and do a vertical jump as high as you could, this is probably where your feet would be. I would really hope that you didn't do a vertical jump with your feet like this or your feet out like this. We want to have as much power transfer into the bar as possible, and so a position where our feet are right underneath of our hips is going to be optimal. Okay. Another thing before we get into the drills to talk about is where your feet should be positioned when you jerk, when you actually catch. So your back foot's actually going to turn out a little bit and your front foot's going to turn in a little bit. So that when you split, the back foot goes and turns out slightly and the front foot lands and turns in slightly. This does a couple things. One, it squares your hips up. I've got opposite torques happening here and I'm going to square my hips up. The second thing that happens, you go ahead and you look at your feet. I'm going to take my shoe off. I apologize in advance. Our feet are created in such a way that the toes taper off. So if I am just straight up, straight footed, most of my weight is only dispersed amongst these first two toes. And you can see that these back toes are hardly at all making any contact. So to create more surface area and a more stable position, we go ahead and we turn the heel out a little bit. So now you can see my toes are getting splayed out. Here, major toe is right here. I've only got a small surface area. Bam, big surface area. That's going to be the same thing in the front foot. Let's pretend this is my front foot now, if I turn it outward as well. So the heels are going to turn out in the catch of the jerk. It doesn't need to be super, all right, super exaggerated to where now we're compromising ACLs and MCLs, but we want to have a slight turn. The worst thing that you can do is turn your foot in this way. If I've seen people that catch like this and now all of the weight is on just this inside part of the foot traveling down, now we're really going to hurt those MCLs and ACLs. Okay, so slight turn out. If you find yourself catching here, go ahead and just turn it out. When we do our drill with the back foot elevated and just stepping with the front, I want you to focus on getting that back toe or that back heel turned out and getting all those toes set on the ground. Okay, so the next part to this drill is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a couple lines. The first line is going to be where my toes are at. The second line is where my heels are at. And the third line can be a dash line, and that's basically the center of my foot. And that's also where my hips are at when I stand up straight. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to take our back foot. So for me, my back foot is my left foot. And I'm going to place it in front of my right foot, just like that. So I'm taking my back foot and placing it in front of my front foot. From here, I'm going to draw a line up at my toes. And I'm going to make that line into an X. Okay? This is going to be where I'm going to try and hit with my front foot. Okay? My back foot, the toe is going to go on that line, and where my heel is at, I'm going to make a line. And what I do here is I put a weight right on that line. What this is going to teach me to do is to keep my back foot elevated. I don't want my back foot flat, so I want to elevate it. You can put a 5 or even like a 10-pound plate there, okay? So I've got my back foot placing, and I've got my front foot placing. Bam. I want to hit that front foot spot at either the ball of my foot or halfway or all the way even up until my heel. That's a little bit far, all right? So I like to hit about the ball of my foot right there. If I hit the ball of my foot on that X and I keep my heel up, you can see that this line, middle line, is right underneath of my hips. I've got a nice angle in my back leg. I've got a nice front shin angle and a nice knee angle here. The other thing that we're always going to do in all of our drills is to move front foot and then back foot. So as I recover, I push back off the front foot and I recover back to back foot. The reason why we do this is if I start here with my feet and my hips on this center line and I jerk, my hips are still there, and as I recover, my hips go there. So the displacement of the bar horizontally hasn't moved at all. The bar always stays on this center line. My feet are going to move and the bar is going to travel vertically, but I don't want the bar to move any horizontal displacement whatsoever. Okay? Same with the pull. The bar is going to be straight up and down in the clean and the snatch. And now we're talking about the jerk. Okay? If I recover back foot first, the tendency is to then move my hips all that way, right? I started back here and now my hips are here. I've got a displacement of anywhere from 6 inches to 12 inches. And now what happens is that bar is moved forward and I have to stop the bar from moving forward, and that's typically when we see a miss. So I'm going to drive straight up and down. I'm going to split my feet. Then I'm going to recover front foot first, back foot second. My hip should always line back up on the center line, or another way to think of it, my feet return to that box. Okay? So let's look at the progression or the drills that we're going to use. These are the jerk drills that I'm talking about. I think, Chelsea, I said anywhere from 20 reps or so. You can start off with this drill, which is just going to be focusing on the front foot moving forward. I like to start off with this one for a couple reasons. Is it really ingrains that the back heel should be elevated, and we're only wearing about one foot. That front foot, getting that front foot out there. So many people tend to think about what their back foot's doing and they overreach. I want you to concentrate on what your front foot's doing. If your front foot gets to the spot where it's supposed to, I promise you your back foot will land where it's supposed to. So don't even worry about your back foot. Always think about front foot. A big cue I'll use for a lot of people, and my athletes can attest to this, is big front foot. Reach that front foot out there. The front foot lands where it's supposed to, the back foot will land where it's supposed to. So we're going to take the back foot out of the equation and just leave it where it's supposed to. My front foot's going to land, or is going to start in the middle of the block. I am then gonna dip and drive straight up, and I'm gonna move my front foot, and I'm gonna hit that mark out here. Dip, drive, and step. If I land where I'm supposed to, X in the front, or I'm sorry, halfway in the foot or the heel, I'm gonna get that nice shin angle on both of the legs. From here, recover back. That's 1 rep. Rep 2. Recover. Rep 3. Recover. Rep 4. Recover. Always take a second to pause, look, make sure that you're hitting your mark, and then recover and hold that position. The other thing you should have done is you should have made this X in line with where your toes at, not off to the center, not off to the outside, and you should be hitting that mark right on. I don't want to see tight roping. What a tight rope would be is if I'm here, let's pretend, and I come in and I'm tight roping and losing my balance. I want that base to stay nice and wide. If anything, it can come out a little bit, okay? So I'm here, dip, drive, step, bam. Nice, good angle, 50-50 distribution. You can pause here for 10 seconds or so, and you should feel this back quad firing, and you should feel this front quad firing. If you're only feeling it in the front quad and your back leg straight, it's no good. If you're only feeling it in this back quad, you probably need to get a little bit more distribution here. All right, so the next part to this drill is to get a PVC pipe and lay it in front or right on your front line so that your toe is right there. Notice my heels turned out, got my toes planted, heels elevated, okay? What this does is it forces me to pick my front up, or my front foot up, and get it out there. If you slide it, you're gonna hit it, and if you don't get your front foot out, you're gonna step on it, maybe pull your groin, maybe roll your ankle. So this is a really good way, fear of injury, to motivate you to get your front foot up. I wouldn't start out with this. I'd get maybe 5, 10, 8 or so reps without it there. Once you feel comfortable and you've got 5, 10 good reps where you're hitting your mark every single time, go ahead, lay down a PVC pipe and do the exact same drill. I'm here, I'm set up. I'm gonna dip, drive, get that front foot out there. You notice that I have to pick my foot up a little bit more to get it out and over. Here we go, dip, drive, front foot, then I could recover back foot. We're not doing that quite yet, but that's how it would look in a real jerk. I'm here, front foot, front foot. Getting your foot up and out is the biggest limiter to a good jerk. Typically, some missed jerks, especially in beginners, is your front foot hits early, and when the front foot hits early, the whole split stops. That's what happens. Very rarely do we see somebody hit the front foot and then extend the back foot. That is why I say pick up the front foot, and I'd rather see them hit at the same time, or back foot, front foot. Get that front foot out there. The final drill that I like to do is to remove all of the implements. I used to do it where I kept the plate back there, and just too many people would hit it and potentially roll their ankles. So I don't like doing that anymore. I like to just have the X's set up. And so now we're gonna put everything kind of together. I don't want you to worry about this back foot. That back foot, after you've done 12, 15 reps of the back foot being there and getting the front foot out, is naturally gonna go there. If you worry about your front foot only hitting that X, I promise you your back foot will happen and it'll make it there, okay? So I'm just gonna put everything together. I'm focused on my front foot, and then I'm gonna recover front foot, back foot. And when I do, I should land right back where I started. So I'm gonna dip, drive, front foot, back foot, front foot, back foot. Front foot hit, back foot's elevated over the X. My hips are in a nice good position. Going to recover front foot, back foot. back in the same spot. I can do this all and prove it to you without looking at any of it. All right, this just comes from years of practice. This is eventually where we want to get you guys to. Dip, jerk, front foot, back foot, here, not looking, come back, everything is right in a straight line. Straight line. Never move forward or backward horizontally. You can, for the first week or so, you can practice even without worrying about your arms. You can do this whole drill right here, try and eliminate the variables. The biggest variable that we're trying to get is the feet. Okay, so you can do it right here. Front foot, back foot. Maybe after the first week, or if you're just like hitting those every single time, maybe Monday, Wednesday, you're hitting these every time. Now you want to try with your hands. Front foot, back foot. Eventually you can then get a PVC pipe and practice getting the chin out of the way. Front foot, back foot, and move up to a barbell and all of that. You do have jerks in your programming, so I want you to warm up with this drill, 10 to 20 reps. 20 would be great, depending on how much time you have, but at least get 10 quality good reps. Don't rush them. Don't count it if you're way off. The other thing, you may have seen me while I was demoing and talking, was doing that, like rocking side to side. If you find yourself that you're tight roping, don't count that. Get it nice and solid. That was a terrible rep. It's hard to do while I'm talking. Nice and solid. Front foot, back foot, okay? Then do your best with weights in your hand. It's probably gonna be a little different when you have weights. That's okay. Keep practicing, keep practicing, keep practicing without the weight. This is a drill that you can do anywhere. You can do it in the strength lab. You can do it at home. We have tile. So I used to like just look and see how many tile spaces. For me, I've got like a 8.5 foot or 8.5 size shoe. It's about one tile. So I know that if I do this in my kitchen, I'm like one tile, okay? You'll find this, you can practice anytime. This is a great drill. Jared Fleming showed this drill to us. Jared, Olympic hopeful, blew his ACL out while he was competing for the Olympics, American record holder. He does 50 of these every single day to work on his jerk. Still Olympic caliber athlete, does 50 every single day as a warm-up. You can't do this drill enough. Drill it until it becomes absolutely perfect every single time, like we just did. I think that's all that I got.